Hey, welcome to the Snowbirds meeting room. I'm King Payne from Imperial Logistics. We have Joe from the Lost Sully. We have Shadow from the Snowbirds. And today we have a guest, Zuke from the I assume Merchant Soli. Hi, I can't
The
talk.
free people of the verse.
Three people of the verse. Thank you. Go ahead and explain. Tell everybody about yourself and about your org. What's up?
Okay, well, as you said, thank you. I'm Zuke. Thank you for having me, by the way. We're basically a group of players relatively new to Star Citizen.
Mhm.
I think our longest member is probably me, or maybe the second one, longest one is me. We had about going on 2 years. Most of us came from Elite Dangerous, type of people who legitimately 8 years ago said this thing was a scam, and was happily proven wrong.
Mhm.
Uh, and basically, we dropped Star Citizen around the time, not Star Citizen, dropped Elite Dangerous around the time that Odyssey was dropping, being incredibly disappointed. Came over here, has had a wonderful experience, barring 317, but you know. And
I have more
then,
stories.
yeah, exactly. And what we are starting our organization and sort of organizing it in the same way of us of the Banu Suli. That really spoke to us as sort of individualistic, almost an arctic uh, friend family group going forward, and we do focus on merchant activities. Not all merchant activities is peaceful, but you know, it's trade is trade, and
Oh,
that's sort of where we are. We're we're not here as long as other folks, but we're now with the latest IAE, we have a lot of influx of new players. So we've been here for longer than several people,
mhm.
and we're just having a blast.
Awesome. Awesome. I'm glad to hear that. Um, I'll let them speak for their orgs, but my org is a logistics org. We move stuff. You you got a tank? We'll move it. We'll you you want to move your mom? We'll lift her whole house up and throw her across the universe. We got this. Uh, so yeah, I'll let Shadow talk about his org and what they do.
Okay, the Snowbirds is a support group for the Lost Sully and ILHS, and hopefully the Free People of the Verse. Um, we do rescue, we do recovery, and we will be providing protection when the Warbirds comes online. Um, and that's basically it.
Go.
John Joe.
Uh, my organization is a human Banu associated org that kind of we do a little bit of everything. We have Sulis on pretty much every game loop that Star Citizen should be getting, and yeah, it's just a bunch of humans who were kind of taken in by the Banu, and eventually they became Esusulis and joined one Suli, and then came out and decided to be kind of like nomads, take their merchantmans and go out and get riches elsewhere. But yeah, we cater to like everybody and new people and advanced people. I want to have kind of more of a role playing aspect kind of in the future whenever orgs become an actual thing for Star Citizen. But yeah, that's about it. Yeah.
Right on. Right on. So as you see, we're a pretty diverse group of folk here. Um, so we got three topics on the ballot today. We're going to be talking about the Polaris and Galaxy. We're going to be talking about 318, and we're going to talk about asset validation. That is turning my head way too far. Let me move this over here a little bit so it looks better. Sorry about that.
And could we
Um,
throw a number 4 on there, Mike?
what you got, bud?
Um, Zook, I know Joe was telling me that you also wanted to go over a little bit of your experiences.
Uh, there wasn't a particular IAE topic. I was talking with Joe before, and I think it was a good idea to revisit the Galaxy after IAE, and specifically anything new that may have caught our attention
Okay.
Okay.
as a sort of like a very quick, brief topic.
Cool. You know, we could tie that into the Polaris and the Galaxy topic too. So we can definitely do that. So what we'll do is we'll just talk about the Galaxy, and then I'm gonna let you lead this off, Zook. Zook, what do you? I'm gonna let you lead this. So about the Galaxy,
Hmm.
go ahead. What's the conversation you want to bring up?
Well, I wanted to have the conversation, and I feel like it's important to have this conversation after IAE. And the
Mhm.
thought process behind it was the Galaxy would no longer be for sale. I'm wrong. Apparently, it's still for sale. But the idea
Yep.
behind it is after the initial sale, after IE was over, after the big, marketing blitz from CIG has come and gone, we could talk about it with a little bit more of a clearer mind. Now, I know I did get it. I know other people did not get it. And I think the gentleman from Test Squadron, and his name escapes me, I apologize, the guy who leads it,
Montoya.
Montoya, he made a YouTube video about him not buying it. And if you look on there, I made a comment saying that's awesome that he didn't buy it. I think that's amazing. I think people are starting to get a little bit jaded, and rightly so, with how CIG's marketing material. But at the same time, um, I do find it weird that people were shaming people when they were buying it. Like it's
Mhm.
still and it's always been, even from day one, a personal choice. And even myself back in the day when a lot of people were buying ships before there was even a hangar, right? I called it scam citizen, but I knew people who were buying their ships and I didn't fault them for it. You know.
Yeah.
And likewise, I feel like the roles are sort of reversed. People who were buying ships back in the day with even less to work on are calling these ships, quasi scams. And I just want to get back to the whole idea of personal responsibility and saying, do you have faith in CIG in what they're doing? Um, I know this sounds bad, but I do. Like I know some people don't like that, but I honestly at this point in time, I feel like what they're accomplishing, they're finally getting their house in order. They're
Mhm.
finally developing things in what I feel to be the right order, and that gives me hope, for lack of a better word.
Sure. Yeah. No, I don't think you're wrong in believing the way you do. The core question I think you're really asking is, are people taking accountability and responsibility for the pledges that they're making? And is it fair for one person to unrightfully judge another for putting their money where they think it should go?
Hmm.
Um, and I'm going to say that my personal reflection on that is, um, like you, I do believe in the vision of Star Citizen. At my core, I do.
Hmm.
But I also want to caution everybody, is if you do love something, make sure you understand its faults and where it can get better.
Hmm.
Because if you make it better by fixing the faults, or at least trying to help them fix the faults, you'll make the overall experience in the product that much more than what it won't be, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Basically, preventative maintenance is one way of thinking about it, right?
Yeah, the best critic for any franchise, I don't care what game or art piece or movie, is going to be the fans, because
Yeah.
that's who the developers, the artists will listen to before anyone else.
Mhm. And the flip side of that is this is the Star Citizen in Squadron 42 is the artistic expression of one guy who's filtering it through an entire team. Chris Roberts' vision of a space game, a space simulation, a universe simulation, better put, is Chris Roberts' vision. And if you went back and played anything he had before, say for example,
Oh,
sorry, the cat attacked my wife apparently. Apologize. So yeah, it's Chris Roberts' vision. If you play any games he's had before, say Freelancer, Starlancer, Wing Commander, you will see his vision and you will be able to compare it to Star Citizen and go, I know what game I want to play. I know what game I am playing. And the crazy thing uh, Star Citizen as it is now is not Star Citizen. It is the sandbox in which Star Citizen is being built on.
Mhm.
So that's the way I think about it. That's my 2 cents. Let's let Joe. Yeah, I'm pointing in the right direction now. That
There you
way.
go. There you go.
Just throw in his 2 cents.
Oh man, I could talk forever about this. I almost don't even know where to begin. But I think the community for Star Citizen, there's a lot of different kinds of people in the community. As far depending on, I was telling Shadow this earlier. Depending on when you joined, because it seems like every couple years or so, things change dramatically. You know, to a point where the people that are backing during certain years, they have a different view of the game than anybody else that backed during different times. Like people that backed back in like 2013, 14, whatever, those guys have a different view than me who backed in 2019, ended 2019. You know,
What do you mean
I have
different
a.
views?
I'm sorry.
What do you mean different views?
So, like my view right now, when I backed, right, I was fortunate enough to know exactly what I was getting into because development has taken so long, and pretty much a lot of the faults of CIG have come out. So when I got my first PC and I was looking for a game to play and I saw Star Citizen pop up, all the drama came out underneath it as well. So I saw that before buying it, and I accepted right from the beginning, before buying the game, that I accepted their faults and I knew it was going to keep happening, but still I had some form of trust that something will be delivered at some point. I think Squadron 42 is going to get released, and I think the PU will finally at some point get past beta, and I think we will get finished game loops at some point and all that, and I think we'll get our ships at some point as well. I have that faith. But for somebody who has been backing since like 2013, for instance, they're going to be very salty because they've waited a long time, and they've had a lot of time to kind of think about it, and from people that I've heard that have been waiting since then, they're just like they're impatient. They don't want to wait anymore. They're done. And but for like me and Shadow, we're kind of just like, since we just backed not too long ago, I have plenty of time to wait. Me going into that, I've already mentally prepared for all of that. So I'm sitting here taking everything like, oh, well, yeah, kind of saw that coming, But people have been waiting longer than me, They're not really like taking it as easy.
Yeah, I can see that. Expectations do play a lot into this. And I know briefly me and Spectre got to talk yesterday about this particular subject. And I don't want to stick on it too much. I want to get to the Polaris and Galaxy like you guys want to do. But I think me and Spectre is kind of in agreement on this. We like you said, we're prepared for it. We planned for it. We're expecting it. And not only that, we kind of get a better feel for what they're wanting to create. And we understand that and are comfortable with the concept that a lot of new technology has to be created in order to accomplish this goal, this plan that Chris Roberts wants to achieve. Whether that's a good thing or bad things, up to the individual customer. But I think you hit the nail right on the head.
Because think about how many times the vision for the game has changed throughout the years, and I've missed that, But I joined in, I would say, the more current version of what they want Star Citizen to be. So I honestly think we're kind of seeing the final vision. I don't think there's going to be much revisions.
Do you think the vision changed?
I think so, yeah. Because in the beginning,
yeah, it has.
Because
even from CIG's point of view, you think it from their point of view changed?
Oh yeah, from 10 years ago, absolutely.
Yeah, because they initially, it was just going to be really linear. and there was going to
Mhm.
be cutscenes going down to the planet, and they weren't the tech they were using at the time. It was going to be a very simple game. There wasn't going to be like all the I think the planets and moons and stuff like that they were going to put in. There really wasn't going to be anything on them, and yeah, it was just going to be a simple game. And then they stopped, and then they realized they could take it further. Their ambitions kept growing over the years, and they kept adding more and more. They kept saying, "Oh, we're also going to do this, and we're also going to do this, and this, and this, and this," and it just kept going throughout the years. From the way I understand it, there was a point in time where they had a decision to make, and they're like, "We can put out something now, or we can ask the community what to do, and should we continue and chase our ambitions, or just put out something now?" And at the community at the time, I don't know what year this was. It was early on. But they decided that they essentially told CIG that go ahead with your ambitions, no matter how long it takes. It just turns out it ended up being an eternity. But yeah, it's changed a lot since the beginning. It's a completely different game now.
I think I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure. This may be me reading into that, so take that for what it's worth. This legitimately may just be me on me. I feel like he always had the mindset of what he wanted to do as an open universe as much as he could muster, much as he could make it. And at the time, the stated goal of, as you said, like you warp down to the city and you warp back up from the city, was basically as close as he thought he could make it at the time.
I
That
think
may be
also with their budget at the time too, with
yeah,
how much
and with
money
the
they
budget at the
raised.
time, and when he realized that a lot of
Became a
fans,
success, so they're like, "Oh,
yeah,
why not do more with it?"
yeah, I think that's always his goal to begin with.
It follows up to what I stated earlier. The Star Citizen is Freelancer 3.0. If you've ever played a Freelancer, that is what you just described, Joe, is Freelancer. You fly a ship. When you go and land on a planet, it is a cutscene, and you click on different buttons to go to different sections. You don't do anything else, and then you can leave.
There's a demo. There's a demo of was this? I think it was supposed to be the PU. I don't remember. There was a demo of Star Citizen where there was cutscenes. I think it was going down to a planet for the first time, and it was just a whole cutscene. And then you go in through like a security checkpoint, and NPCs doing the whole contamination thing and checking in to the station. There was, yeah, it was really cool to see, but it was completely different from what we have now. But yeah, I can agree with you, Zuke, about saying that it's probably the exact vision that he's wanted. His vision probably never changed, but
it's just
I think the game itself is what I'm saying is changed.
Yeah.
Or the scope of it.
Let's get Shadow's perspective because he's been patiently waiting. So.
Well,
my apologies.
No, you're fine, dude. I'm glad you said something about that. Me being a backer for only a year, I'm seeing it as it is now. I didn't go back into it until I got into the game. And then I found out what has changed from the original to what we have now. And to tell you the truth, I'm glad we have what we have now.
Mm-hmm.
The immersion, the flying down to a planet through atmosphere, gives me that dream when I was a little kid of when I watched Neil Armstrong walk on the moon, going to a planet, going to the moon, and watching it where the LEM was landing. Okay, I mean, you can't get any better than that. And this gives me that dream when I was 8 years old watching that stuff, man. So
yeah. Oh,
I can't get any better than this. And I'm glad that it didn't go the route that it did, because I'm going to compare apples to oranges.
Mhm.
If Starfield continues like it is never, ever going to touch Star Citizen.
I don't think it will.
I don't
I
think it
think
was
you're right
meant
on that.
to.
Not a chance in hell.
No, not a chance now. And I think it also, I play. Let me. I play Elite Dangerous once in a while. Almost messed that one up. But Elite Dangerous disappointed me in a few ways. Like it is a grandiose space game that you do travel star system to star system, and it's that land in a portal thing. And some people it's great, and I do think it's really cool. Like the Thargoid idea is really awesome. I do like the idea of their spaceships. I think those are really cool. I do think they've made strides over time, but I just don't think they did it quick enough, and I don't think they did it effectively enough. And I paraphrase here: early on in their development, Frontier stated that basically no space nerd wants to walk through their ship. Are you dumb?
Dude, that
Right?
oh no, that is PTSD moment for a second there. Oh my goodness, that made me so upset when I
Yeah,
read that forum post, and that's insane. Like that is absolutely insane. I don't know of anybody who knew their audience, who knew that in
right.
that genre, who would say that. I mean, going back to Knights of the Old Republic, one of the
Hmm.
best parts about
Hmm.
Knights of the Old Republic is you got to walk around the Ebon Hawk,
I know. Oh
right?
my God,
You
yeah.
got to
Such
move
a
around the Ebon
iconic
Hawk.
ship.
Oh,
Yeah, very iconic ship.
before that, Star Wars: Shadows of the Empire. You got to walk inside the Dash Rendar, his ship, the YT-1300.
Mhm.
They're
Yeah.
making there's a fan made recreation of that, and I think
Yep.
Unreal Engine that's supposed to be really cool.
Nice.
I can only get so stop it, Joe. I can only get so excited about something. Come on. Well, my point is, like, I think we all agree here. Like, basically, what Star Citizen has done very well at this point in time is you have your ships, you can walk in them, you can walk into other people's ships, you can fly from a space station to a planet, to another planet, across the star system, into another space station. You can do all that stuff, and whatever else it entails, and make your own adventure along the way. That's what Star Citizen Sandbox does well right now. Now, I've been around since 2018, and I've paid attention to it for a couple of years before then. And what I have seen in the time that I've been playing is leaps and bounds of differences. I think Salty Mike just reviewed a video from, I can't remember the guy's name, about, he reviewed two videos. Video one was about the modularity stuff and like how every year there's been a conversation of modularity, and it's not made its way into Star Citizen at all. Probably for a couple reasons, and the tech wise. But the other thing was components in ships. Now, I remember joining Star Citizen, and you couldn't look at the components at all. You couldn't open anything to look at components. You just had your ship, and that was, kind of it. This is before the character.
Wait, you couldn't open to see
No.
the component?
Mm-mm.
No,
Nope.
Wow.
the component
Okay.
slot wasn't even there, and like I think my earliest memories in a free fly was seeing a freelancer, and the big selling thing back then was like they had the computers panels in the
Right.
freelancer, and that was the first time that was there, and even then, that was
There's
just like a
no.
wallpaper. It wasn't even
Right.
an object that's in the wall that had health or anything.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It was a 2D flat image. It didn't really have much. Like
Yeah.
Zuke saying, it was nothing. And if you go back, the second video that Salty Mike watched was talking about that stuff from 2014 to now. And this is a prime example of where CIG does have proof in the pudding that they actually put the physical components in the game at this point on most of your ships. I think there's a couple that you can't really get to, but they haven't got that far yet. That's fine. But it just show that they're doing that. Like if you walk your carrack, you can, or almost any multi-crew ship, you can open up compartments and stuff like that and actually see the physical device right there.
Yeah.
And if you change it, it changes.
Yes.
So you know it's physically different. And so
Yeah.
that's just one of the many things that
Well, those
CIG 's-
modules do have health. Like for example,
Yeah.
there's the C788 flak cannon.
Yeah.
You can actually target that because that penetrates the hull. You can target certain parts of the bigger ships where you know those modules are physically located, and that
Mhm.
flak will hit those modules, and you can shut a ship down by hitting those modules. Like it's
Yeah.
not as clearly, it's not as built as it should be. We
Yeah. Yeah.
can't manually change it out on the fly. We have to store the ship to swap them out.
Mhm.
But the fact of the matter is, that's a physical object that is there that you can interact with by destroying it, right?
Mhm.
So that and that goes back to how do I words properly. I had a conversation with a friend of mine probably 7 years ago, where we were discussing I thought to be Scam Citizen and Elite Dangerous at the time. And I said, like, look, we'll see how it works out because Elite Dangerous is building the universe and is building down, and CIG is claiming that they are building details and then building up. And I think we're seeing what was basically we're seeing the two different approaches. You're seeing Elite Dangerous that is building out and building down and wants that release date in a few years. And they're having issues with, hey, they sacrificed and made shortcuts. Well, maybe not. Maybe it's unfair to use the word shortcuts, but they made decisions in development that led to them making it really hard for them to put foot on the ground.
Mhm.
And when it came time to build that part of the gameplay, their game engine couldn't properly support it. I don't think I don't think for a Second Frontier didn't want to allow you to walk around their ships. I think their engine properly couldn't support it, couldn't support that transition, and they said, well, that's not the main feature, so we're willing to sacrifice it and not basically redo their own game engine.
Sure. Yeah.
Um, and I think we're seeing the outcome of those choices. Yes, it's going to take longer over here, but we're going to have a much better experience at the end of said long journey.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. I follow that. Let's let Shadow weigh in on that and Joe weigh in on that if they want to.
You can go
Mm.
first, Shadow.
Okay. As far as I'm gonna say it. I can't wait for physical components to be replaced in a ship, due to the fact that when your ship power plant goes out, you're stuck. You can't do anything. And if you didn't purchase at least a lower grade power power plant to replace the one that's damaged until you get back, you're stuck. So hence my baby ship that's gonna come, the SRV, will that's going to be the savior. Okay, but until that comes, and until the modularity of physicalized components comes, you're going to be stuck out there. So I can't wait for that to come. And the resource management, that's going to be even more immersive. So I'm willing to let them take their time, do what they got to do. I'm more than happy.
Yep.
But
You're right.
I'm loving it for right now what it is, you
Mm.
know. And yeah, we have our bugs, we have our issues. I mean, something all the time. But hey, it's good. It's good for what it is, and it's just going to get better. We just got to be, I hate to say the word, patient. And like they always say, soon TM.
Yeah.
You know? Okay, Joe, I'm done.
Um, yeah, I mean the difference between CIG and any other game developer, they can take all the time they want. They don't have any deadlines really. And you know, the whole crowdfunding through ships thing is a major success. So they can kind of just do whatever they want. They could, if they're not satisfied with how something works, they can scrap it and come up with a better idea, and take all the time in the world to flesh it out. And yeah, that's the one. I think ED didn't have that. So yeah, but yeah, I don't know. I'm willing to wait a little bit. I'm not willing to wait forever. I'm not willing to wait another 10 years. But I see a lot of progress with PES. Looks like it's going pretty good as of now. I don't know. That's at least from what we can gather from the leaked stuff. But
So I can officially make the request so that when my galaxy is broken down with no power plant, that King Payne, when his logistics group will come pull me out of that mess.
I'll probably subcontract Shadow to come grab you.
There you
with
go.
his SRV.
Yeah.
Deal.
But I'll probably show up within C2 so you can load all your like not just your cargo, but probably your here's my guns and my suits and stuff like that. I just load it onto my C2 and we'll take care of you.
Exactly.
Yeah. Joe, were you done? I
no, that's
apologize.
it. No, that's good.
Okay.
That's it.
All right. Well, I think that was a great starter. Honestly, this is a great starter topic. So let's move on to my topic here, Polaris and Galaxy. And the reason why I want to talk about this is I was perusing the forums and watching Montoya and a bunch of people, and just kind of seeing a bunch of batter back and forth about these ships, and that some people were confused by them, and some people confused as in what their purposes were. And I think maybe the core of the conversation is ship purpose, and I think that folks don't associate the purpose of a ship with the gameplay loops they're going to be dealing with. And the Polaris and the Galaxy, since they're already hot topics for this IAE, is probably a great place to talk about it. So the point of each ship, and this is plainly put, a Galaxy is not a combat ship. It is for lack of better, a one size. It's a jack of all trades ship, or rather, jack of three trade ships at the moment. Shipping or cargo trading, medical, and refinement. Right now, that's what its purpose is at the moment. Other modules coming soon. TM. And then the Polaris is a combat vessel. It is designed to fight. It has got a combat hangar in it. It's got huge torpedoes involved with it. It's designed to destroy. So there are other examples out there, and I kind of want to get everybody else's here, like your favorite ship and what the role of that ship is and what that role means to your org. So for my org, I picked up a Hull C. My job is to move stuff. Like, give me your scrap, give me your waste, let me move it to another station and let them deal with it, kind of thing. So, and it's not a combat ship. I'm not going to be fighting in it. I'm going to be hauling in it. Like, hold on, beep, beep, I'm coming through, kind of thing. I'm a semi-truck driver, So I'm going to mix this up a little bit. Let's start with Joe. Joe, what's your ship and its purpose?
Well, being a Banu org, the merchantman. That's going to be the mothership of the fleet, really, the heart of it. As far as income and everything like that. That's where everybody's going to gather. That's where you're going to have your meetings. That's where majority of the higher ups are going to live. I'm going to need ships like the Polaris, and maybe even the Galaxy there for support. So yeah, that's my ship.
Yeah, right. Shadow.
Okay. You're asking a rough question here because I love the Polaris. That is my battleship.
Okay.
Galaxy, that is going to be my pretty much all around jack of all trades ship due to the fact of the modularity. And when they get a manufacturing module, that is next on my list.
The modularity of the Galaxy, I think it's important that they make, at minimum, the modules that come out for it different from the Endeavor, so it's not just a better Endeavor.
Agreed.
Because I have an
Agreed.
Endeavor too, and I want it a part of my fleet as well. And
Mhm.
I would just hate for it to beat the Endeavor for the most part. And it would just kill me
It-
because
Yeah.
yeah,
for as
the
someone who's
Endeavor.
been waiting for it, and there's people waiting longer than me, like I love the way the ship is, you know. So that's what I have to say about that. Yeah.
So basically, the Endeavor needs to be more than just a capacity thing. It needs to actually whatever the Galaxy does needs to do. It can do some things the Endeavor does, but it can't do it at the same capacity. But it also has to
Mhm.
have independent modules that the Endeavor won't do. Is what you're saying?
Yes. The medical module almost looks like it's. We still need more information on it, but it almost looks like it could beat the medical module for the Hope version of
There's
Endeavor.
no way.
You don't think so?
No.
I'd have to look
And
at it again.
I don't mean to give you a hard time, but I kind of want to give you hope to be honest with you, because my understanding, and this is again just my understanding, I don't have an Endeavor, but I think the Endeavor is going to be much more of a I park this thing somewhere and it becomes almost a personally owned mini station, and it can do more than just one thing. It can do, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think you can do at least two things, maybe even four things simultaneously,
I think
right?
2.
At least two, maybe four. I think if you get one of the smaller ones, you can
But
put one on each side. But
some of the
I could be
modules
wrong.
some of the modules take up more space than other
Yeah,
modules. So yeah, some
exactly.
can only fit 2, some maybe more than that. Yeah.
So whereas like the Endeavors can have the spaceship and the sort of attached systems where they can do more than one thing,
Mhm.
the Galaxy is a single thing at a time, period, and it has to be with the ship at all times, right? And that's where the difference between the two ships are going to be, in my opinion. And that makes them very distinct. That makes them very different in how you go about using them in an org format. You know, this we would park the Endeavor and park the satellite at some random location in space where we would have access to it services, but other people may not know it's there, maybe for an event. Whereas the Galaxy has to be brought to wherever you're going. You gotta have someone manning it and crewing it. Period. Uh, Flying it to wherever you need it done. Uh, Allowing for docking, opening the doors whenever something comes in. I think there's going to be two distinct different gameplays, and I don't think you're crazy for having Endeavor. Uh, I think we're not going to get Endeavor for our org mainly because uh, we're going to be a lot more of a mobile group. We're not going to be a group that's going to be stationary at one location. That's why we have a whole E instead of a whole C. I see us going again as a with a merchantman at our core. We'd have our core merchantman with a Perseus instead of a Polaris, and we'd be traveling with it with our Kraken with our Hull E as a sort of a migrant fleet that'd go from system to system. We'd go somewhere, stay there for a month or two, and then sell our goods, refill our supplies, and then go somewhere else again to make massive profit and
Mhm.
do more deals. And I don't know. I think I hope that helps, Joe. I hope that gives you hope.
Kind of, maybe a little bit. I think we just need more information because I can kind of see. I see your point, but also I could see too, like, um, it really, honestly, it just comes down to the type of person you are and your org and what your function is. Because there's gonna be the people who maybe want both, or maybe are gonna need both in different situations. Um, and then there's going to be people who would want the Galaxy over the Endeavor, or the Endeavor or the Galaxy. So
Oh yeah,
there's so many other different situations. So I think I just at least from my standpoint, I need to see where they're going with the modules first. That thing actually needs to come out, and we need to see it and see how it's going to actually function in game before we can make
yeah.
that.
I completely agree. And the reason why I got the Galaxy for my group is I basically downsized a lot of our stuff. Like I got rid of my expanse. I got rid of some of our guys got rid of their Apollo, and we basically got the Galaxy for a sort of a multiple purpose saving space, easier, smaller crew, and not most importantly for us, a lot more mobile. Right? It's a lot more mobile, easier to manage, and that's why we decided to get it. And that's not for everybody. If you're a stationary org, I I could definitely see how why you would not necessarily want it or need it. But again, that's fine. We have for example, us. I don't really see a need for the Polaris, and I could definitely see how Spectre's group would have a need for the Polaris now that they have the sort of almost like loading bay cargo area where it could be perfect for delivering Marines or delivering dropships, like small dropships full of people for a combat experience. Uh, that's not how we really. That's not how my group's supposed to be, or how I'm planning on it running. I see very small precision in and out type of operations, and then funding those type of operations with trade and constantly being on the move. And the Polaris really isn't really conducive to that. Polaris is much more of a this is our part of the planet, leave us alone type of situation. Uh, and that's why I like the Galaxy, and I'm not a huge fan of the Polaris.
Yep. Again, it's up to your functions, like Joe,
Yeah.
to paraphrase Joe. Depends on your org and your function. I had a love-hate relationship with the Apollo because I still think that ship could come out now. But I will digress for that one. I got my C8R. I'm happy for now.
It's got drones. That's the only thing I can think of on why they wouldn't have it yet.
Well,
so
does the Carrick, but it's out.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So,
I mean,
I don't know.
they just recently, I think within the year, they said they want to start releasing ships with their current gameplay, but also I don't know. They're releasing. They're kind of still doing it. So I don't know what to believe really, whether they mean that or not. I think they say they could try. They're trying to release the gameplay with it, but it doesn't always happen.
I think John Crew intends to do that, but I think that there's other forces at play that are above him that are like, nah, we need to make sales, so I need you to
Keyword
release
try.
shit. Yeah, I think try is the operative word. It may or may not happen. They're going to try their best too.
Why do you feel that they're failing to putting out the content with the ships or with the gameplay with the ships?
Historically,
I mean, like
it's
historically,
yeah.
I completely agree. But I was like let's like last 2 years.
Mhm.
Do you feel like they've continued to not do that, or do you feel like they've succeeded?
I think they've done a better job at it. I think that there's definitely more of an effort of it occurring, but I also think that because they've already had ships in the pipeline and probably already close to done or whatever, that they can't hold it anymore. They have to release them because people paid for those things. I mean, if you think about it, if I paid for a piece of a loaf of bread, I expect to have a loaf of bread when it's ready. So
They can't.
I think
They can't release a ship if it breaks the game, though.
there's that component
they
too,
need
yeah.
once the underlying tech is done, they can start releasing the capital ships. They can start working on them and stuff, and all the other ships that would break the game's economy and all that stuff. Because if they release the merchantman right now, it'd break the economy and the server.
Economy's already broken.
Or the whole C, or the whole E.
Any of them, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
as much as I want my whole E, I do not expect to get my whole E until like months before the game is released. Like it's like fully released. Like I got that ship with the expectation of not flying that thing until day one.
Yeah.
I am interested. Oh, sorry.
No, you're good, John. Go ahead, bud.
I'm interested in almost every ship that they come out with. So even though I have certain ships that I pledged for, and I am waiting for and wish they would work on. But even if they don't work on them for a while, if they keep drip feeding me these other ships, kind of flight ready or whatever, then I'll take it. It's better than nothing. And I love testing out all the other ships. So I switch my fleet around so much with all the new stuff coming out. I'll try it and then melt it and then try all the other new ones, melt it and all that stuff. So
yeah, That was good. Shadow, do you want to weigh in on anything? Or are you?
Um, Back to the galaxy for a second,
Yeah.
and I know Joe and Mike, we talked about this, where the modularity is going to play a big part due to the fact that if they do this right, and if they do it like they're saying this is a simulation, it's going to take time to swap out those modules.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, hold on though. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I would. That's what I thought how it would happen, right? But recently, when they talked about the Galaxy, they were talking about modularity, and they're like, "Oh, you can just fly in, switch it out real quick, and go back out." Like the way they talk about it is, it's quick, and it's very like, "Oh, you need something right in the moment. Go ahead and just switch it out." That's the way they were talking. I don't know if
Yeah.
that's what that means. I don't know if it's gonna be quick or not, but how they sound,
Depends on what the definition of real quick is.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But they said some
I
Like
people
can
soon
see
TM.
go back
I
and
can
watch
see
the
a
video.
timer.
Go back and watch the video because they're like, oh, you're in. They make it seem like, oh, you're just playing. You're in there and you're playing and you need something real quick. Just go ahead and go get it. Just go ahead and switch it. That was the tone, but I really hope they go the opposite route. I hope that it's really hard to switch your module. I hope you got to wait like a couple days. I hope that I feel like it should be like a whole kind of, like a whole crew is going in there. Like they actually got to park your ship into like some sort of like dry dock type of thing in space.
Yeah.
And
Oh.
they have all these workers going in, switching it out, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
I think Orson has it. Is a good example. If you go to Orson on their admin platform, basically,
They got dry
there's a
docks
whole
there.
yeah, they got dry dock there where there are people
Mhm.
working on ships, and so I agree with you. I don't think it should take 2 days, maybe half hour. In reality, I think that would be fine. But
Yeah, I was
I
thinking
just
15 minutes, 30 minutes too.
Well, the reason
yeah,
why I say maybe not 2 days, but I want it to be a long time because I feel like it just shouldn't be. It shouldn't. It's not real. It's weird to just
unrealistic.
sit there and say, "Oh, I could switch 4 modules in 30 minutes."
Yeah, I agree with
It's
that.
it's like I feel like if it needs to be a very tactical decision in switching your modules depending on your
Yes.
gameplay. You
Yes.
can't, and it's not tactical. There's no thing like the way you get to that tactical point is by letting it take some time.
I
Well,
think the other part of that though is what are you swapping out? That's the other part of that conversation. Like obviously, the Galaxy, you have a whole basically quarter of a deck you're yanking out. Your endeavors, you have entire sections of a ship that you're pulling out. I
Mhm.
mean, I think
Yeah.
size should make a difference in the time.
I think so
Like
too.
if
Yeah,
you're
like
yeah, so
ships do, ship times, claim times,
yeah,
that
exactly.
kind of thing.
Claim time.
yeah,
Yeah,
with the cargo refactor, when it comes to that point, it's going to take time. We're going to have timers on the ships for the cargo to be loaded. So the same should apply with the modules.
yeah.
I mean, they've already said that you're gonna have to take a capital ship in there, change out the capital ship size components. You're gonna have to come to some kind of a dry dock to do that. They've already said it's gonna take time to load cargo. I don't see them. I didn't take when they said in the video to be come in here. It's a boop boop. Now you're a medic, or boop boop. Now it's cargo. I didn't take them as that. I literally took them as there's going to be some amount of time and likely cost. As a Galaxy
Oh,
owner,
cost, yeah.
I hope there's a
Yeah.
cost.
Yes.
You got to pay the workers. Yeah.
Pay the workers to actually swap that thing out.
Mhm.
That way, you're making those decisions with intent. And if you're
Yes.
making
Yeah.
those decisions willy nilly, that's going to make whatever activity you're doing very costly if you have to swap back.
Yeah, well, like
Uh,
Joe said, tactical. It's got to be a tactical,
Yeah.
smart, and like you say, a smart decision to do so. Yeah,
Yes.
like I bought my Galaxy since I'm a hauler, right? Like I
Yeah.
bought my Galaxy and I put the cargo thing in there. What I might end up doing is getting a medical because I don't see myself using refinery, but using the medical for my ship, my org's fleet. because we're going to be hauling, hauling donkeys across the entire galaxy to do stuff. So we were
Yeah.
going to have a medical. And so anyway,
Am I the only? And I don't mean to change the topic.
you're good.
Just make a little idea. Am I the only one that wants a module for the C2 to change out the cargo bay area into just rows and rows of cheap passenger seats?
Oh, yeah.
I think you
just
should be able
Starliner?
to do that. That'd be a great idea.
Would that not be amazing? Like C-130, they have the
Yeah.
singular
Yeah.
module seat for like a double seat.
Oh, yeah.
thing.
Yes.
So, oh, that would be the E2.
I like
I
that.
wouldn't. Yeah, I wouldn't doubt we would. I wouldn't doubt we get that, but then it would have to compete with the Genesis Starliner, and the Starliner is basically your. Well, isn't the Starliner like an ancient or older model of a Crusader ship?
Yeah,
Yes.
but it's still comfy though. It's not like economy class or like if you want to get the maximum people across from one end of the galaxy to the other end of the galaxy, or from one system to another system as cheaply as
It's just
possible,
not
like
luxury.
refugees. Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
luxury. Yeah,
That's all it
it's
is.
it's
Hey.
comfortable. It's not luxury. This is not a
Well,
refugee ship.
Hold on, this is
Then-
Crusader we're talking here.
But look at it like this: if you did that with the C2, it could be a troop transport, and it would have to be armored heavily.
That's an M2.
That's an M2.
Yeah, but you have to change out that module. Do you see what I'm saying?
Well,
Yeah, I mean,
To make it an
yeah.
actual troop transport.
it's not a
so-
dropship, no matter how much CIG says. It's not a dropship.
Right. So there you go. But anyway,
Yeah, yeah,
the Genesis Starliner is the oldest ship in their fleet
yeah.
for passengers,
Mhm.
besides the shuttles, because the shuttles came first.
Yeah, yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah. I think following up on this particular topic, though, the purpose of
Galaxy.
ships and stuff. Yeah, well, yeah, Polaris and Galaxy and the purpose of ships. And what to expect is kind of, we already touched on it, is like over the releases that we get over the next year, you just expect ships to match what those are, as close as possible to what's being released on those release dates. Like we got, which is our next topic here, is 318. 318's been an enigma of sorts. As long as I've been playing, they've never not released more or less than 3 or 4 patches in a year. This is the first time I've seen them only release technically 2 number version changes, but they've technically released more than 4 at this point.
So for one.
Well, 317, 317.2, 317.3. Those are
No, like
patches.
one major branch patch. It's always
Oh, yeah,
one
yeah.
major branch.
Yeah,
And
yeah, sorry.
318 is not released yet.
It's not released yet. However, it's hitting Eva
It could still get delayed last minute to
It
January.
could still get delayed, and we're this
Expect it.
close to the end of the year.
Yep. They've
I
done it
mean-
before.
Yeah.
Let them.
They've done it before for this patch.
Well, not just this patch. When I first started, we were at 3.2.4, and 3.3 was supposed to come out, and they pushed 3.3 until the following quarter. But what we got out of it was huge, like
Yeah, the content's there.
massive.
Yeah,
Yeah, I can't remember
Um,
exactly if it was 3.3, but it was something like that.
but like
Right.
each of the code branches there's been a significant core feature upgrade.
Yeah, that's
that's
the point.
why-
Yeah.
That's why it justifies a new base number. And the reason why we were getting, .3 and .2 and .4 was because they are releasing content patches. There is new content there, which is really good for them. It's good that they're still making it. But I don't know if that's a commentary on like how, and I really wish I could talk to a developer at a bar citizen or something and ask, is the delay, again, I have no problem with delays. I want them to do it right. I've already admitted that I was wrong with thinking that the way Frontier was doing it was better. I think the way they're doing it now is better. I don't want to question them because I've been wrong before. I'm very curious. Is it the fact that has PES been that much more difficult, or were there unforeseen like
Yes.
obstacles that didn't come up that they had to backtrack and take care of. Like for example, the cargo refactor and PES. We all knew those two things were always going to be together. They were dependent upon each other. Uh, that was never going to be a way around that. Was there something else that we're not aware of that they're not letting us know that's in a similar state where it was completely dependent?
Yeah, so 318 is unique. Like I said, 318 is an enigma. So here's the uniqueness of 318. There is more than just one major thing coming through. You have hull salvaging and stripping, right? You have the cargo system refactor. So those are two major components by themselves.
Would you
Yeah,
consider those like fundamental techs or just
yeah.
gameplay leaps?
No, they're definitely fundamental techs.
Okay.
Because halvage, salvage, and hull
Halvage.
stripping,
Halvage.
halvage. We're just gonna call halvage. Yeah,
So it's not just me that
I
does
like
that. Then.
Halvage.
Thank goodness.
yeah, let's call halvage from now on.
I
So
may use
yeah,
that.
no, it's the first time we get to change something into something else through a form of refinement of type. You know, we're taking a hull, scraping it and turning it into a composite to sell. This is yes, it's basically mining, but you're doing it with ships in a vulture or in a reclaimer instead of taking your prospector out and blowing up rocks and then going and selling and refining the rocks or whatever. You're doing everything right there before you take it too. And I do think that's a major core feature because there's other things that are come along with that. Like when you're ready to start slicing components off of ships and take those components, store it on your ship, and you can use those if they're repairable, if they're in functional shape. You know, that's one thing. Um, so then you got what was the other one? Physicalized cargo is a big thing too. It's on par with the modules that you put on your ship, like your coolers and whatnot. The physical boxes that have physical health that you can steal, or you can migrate from one ship to another, or you know this enables things like the Hull C to come into play, and then you can use a Margo raft and pick up the containers and go sell it. You know, that's the point of it. So yeah, I do think that it's more than just game loop, that it's physicalized tech. Like it's now you can take the gravlev technology, stick a container box on a gravlev and push that into a C2 Hercules. So it's enabling more than just one thing. The other two major components that you got to remember that 318 brings to the table is persistent entity streaming. I always screw that up, but I can't believe I got that right that time. I always mess it up, call it persistent.
Good job.
Yeah, and then the Gen 12 scene renderer is the last component of the Gen 12 renderer alone. So these are major things. These are huge. This is the reason why 318 is taking so long, and they're baking it. They're trying to get everything they right. And I know that we're going to still experience problems as soon as we get it out of the gate, but that's okay because if it's mostly stable, that means that the sub patch coming out for it is going to make it better. At least we expect so. But this also enables the API of Vulkan to come into play. Vulkan's a big thing. Vulkan ain't no small detail. It's a huge API for graphics rendering. You know, even in development of what I'm going through, it's Vulkan just helped. Like I don't have to worry about Windows DirectX problems, but with the Vulkan just works, and that's the best way I can describe it. And the optimization behind it's great too. I just argue expect things to hiccup, but as Joe mentioned, the leaks are kind of promising on what we're seeing. So, what I want to do is, I mentioned the tech, and so what I want to ask the group is, what tech are you most excited for, or want to comment on, and why? Why you have your attention on that tech alone? I think we started with Shadow last time, and you know what? I'm gonna start with Zuke this time, and then go to Joe.
I want persistent energy streaming more than anything right now. That would make life a lot easier, even if the server crashes, even if my game crashes. Like, even I'm running AMD graphics cards right now, so there's some Vulkan or Gen 12 bug that every once in a while when I fly towards a planet, I come into that near the ground, it just crashes my game out. AMD, almost all AMD users are dealing with that. The ability to say that server still exists, my ship still exists, my items still exist, the gun rack on my ship that crashed into the planet because I died because my game crashes still exists and it's still there, right? That makes the hope of recovery after my game crashes better, not as painful, not as bitter, right? Because recovery is still like a game loop. People don't really underestimate that. The ability to go back and get what happened, what broke, and what you lost can and often is, for at least from my group, a fun game loop in and of itself.
Sure, yeah.
I kind of wish it was more of a uh, game caused as opposed to a game crash caused. But that there's been several times where we had fought a player group and one of our big ships crashed or got blown up by another player, but we won the fight and now we're in recovery mode. Let's go get our stuff back. That's happened before. That's a very much a logistics type of situation that we enjoy. Um, and that's sort of the main thing that I'm looking forward to is I'm looking forward to PES, what it will enable as far as gameplay features are concerned. And my favorite feature I'm looking forward to is crewing one of my admiral's reclaimers and being part of our reclaimer crew. That's going to be very fun.
That's been fun. Can't wait for that too.
Yeah, I'm excited for that for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Joe, go ahead, buddy.
Well, I have to say, out of everything, I'm excited for server meshing. That's what I have my mind always focused on when I think about the underlying tech, because it's kind of like that's the end of the road as far as like
Is that
what
318?
no, it's going to be after Vulcan and everything.
Okay, sorry.
This is going to be around 4.0 territory, hopefully.
Look for Pyro.
But server meshing, that's going to be the end of the line of all the underlying tech that they need in the game to be able to do what they want to do, to actually see their vision through, to finish all the game loops. You'll have, version 10 of whatever game loop of like medical, everything will be, getting better and better. You won't have to worry about ships anymore, or them not making any ships. They'll be able to make them. By then they should have more staff, hopefully, to be able to work on that. And then hopefully around that time, I honestly believe that I think after 4.0, because it's going to have, if that comes with server meshing or even just a little bit after, I really think we're going to see a massive work up to things actually getting done and the game actually being really, really fun and enjoyable and not frustrating anymore. And I honestly think my question to everybody kind of is, do you guys think we'll see a 5.0?
Yes.
Do you think?
No.
Because I feel like after server meshing in 4.0, I think, we're going to get a lot of patches after that, but it's still going to be within 4.0. But yeah, I feel like they would almost be ready for a beta, assuming it goes well and they get all the fixes in that they need, after server meshing. I feel like if they ever did have like a 5.0, it would just be more systems and more ships.
Yeah.
Nix. I think by 5.0, if that ever was a thing, they would already have the game loops in, or at least most of them. And like working, but yeah, that's my thought on that.
Star Citizen 5.0, still waiting on modularity. No, I do.
Don't scare me, man.
No, don't do that, man.
I think we may see a 5.0, but it may be for the transition from alpha to beta. I don't think it'll be 5.0 for very long. I think it'll be 5.0 for a single, maybe balancing patch or massive tech fix patch, if you will. At most. It may not even be 5.0. It may be 4.9.9 or 4.9 beta 1.0. And beta, in order for beta to be proper and working, is we need all the technology, as Joe pointed out, but we also need excessively good server stability and entity delivery. And so what I mean by that is, for those who may not be up on their game development talk, is server stability is an easily understood thing. Anybody who's worked in tech or worked with IT understands stability means it works. The entity streaming portion is that I want to be able. Example: you're walking through a cave on Aberdeen because you hate yourself, and you have your gun out, and you're walking through, and you start shooting, and you try to reload your gun, and your magazines disappeared that you had on your body. That's because the entity was supposed to be streamed to your body, but if there's a problem and the server says, I just don't have a clue where you are spatially, your magazine's all the way up in the star because it just doesn't know where you are, and that's the default location. And so you have to pick another magazine to load in. So stuff like that is the problems we see now. That's the entities not being properly streamed to your body. Hopefully PEZ fixes this. Hopefully. I mean, I expect bugs, but hopefully we'll have that to where a data recovery scenario comes into play from server meshing, where a backup cache file is validating that first cache file, going, oh no, that was supposed to be there. And even though you may miss it for like a millisecond, it pops into existence. Like, oh, I got it. It's fine. That's what I hope. That's my major and my thing that I want to make sure we have, because that by itself means everything. That means that your modules won't disappear out of your ship in mid-flight. Oh yeah, we're healing you. Oh yeah, well the entity of the whole module's gone, so everybody just falls into the floor. So that's my answer to you, Joe. I'm gonna let Shadow or Zuke rebuttal to you. So
Go ahead, Shadow.
The one main thing that I do want to see, and I agree with Joe, server meshing, but let's get static out of the way first. Static server meshing and then dynamic. And as a 5.0, I'd rather see a 1.0 beta. I'm just going to say
exactly, my man.
There you go. I like it.
I'm just going to say it because we're at this point now, okay? And like I say, I've only been in the game for a year. And with what I've seen so far, it could get there. They just got to flesh out and finish what they're doing. Let them do their job. Get on it. We're here. I'm not going anywhere unless God takes me. So, hey, I'm all for it.
God forbid, Spectre. Who's going to bring me my power plant?
Exactly. Oh, that's my job. I'm bringing the power plant.
You were subcontracting.
Oh no, for him to pick up your ship.
Yeah.
Okay, fair.
He canceled his contract.
Yeah.
Oh man.
It's crappy service over here. Jesus.
He didn't pay his chocolate milk fee. I can't stop.
But that's the thing that I would really love to see. And yes, stability key to the game. We're gonna get disconnected. That's gonna happen no matter what. Your internet goes out, or your service provider has issues. So that's something we have to deal with. But
how often does that happen though? Not much.
I
would at least hope.
Depends on where you are. It depends.
Yeah. I was in the middle of an event with Mike and Joe, and then all of a sudden my internet went out for over near 24 hours.
Oh yeah, it was 24 hours. I thought it was 2 days for some reason. Oh no, because you just hadn't gotten on in 2 days or something like that, and it was.
Well, yeah, because the whole grid of my internet system went out, and they didn't get it back until like almost a day and a half later. So
I just imagine Shadow at home looking like the John Travolta meme where he's just kind of looking around like, where am I going?
Yeah, dude, I was on the PlayStation playing standalones, okay?
Oh
but
man,
but that's the main thing.
yeah.
Getting server meshing done, flushing it out. 1.0. I don't want to see a 5.
Yeah, I completely agree. I agree with Joe on that as well. Like I think 3.0 was them developing back-end tech. 2.0 was them developing the idea of what they wanted to do. I think 4.0 would basically be essentially content. Content creation, new systems, new ships, fully featuring modularity. What I would call instead of I think 4.0 will be instead of background tech, it will be in-game tech, like
Iteration.
career tech, pathline techs,
Sure.
ship tech, that kind of stuff that is built on the background tech. And then we're probably going to be in 4.0 for a long time. We'll probably be in 4.0 for 3-4 years. Like I just get ready for it, prepare for it. Anybody who does game developing, game development or software development, period, knows the definition of alpha and beta. And I think CIG is one of the few companies who is using those terms public facing correctly, right? The whole purpose behind an alpha is we are developing the tech that goes into the program or the software. Beta is content complete bug fix. You know, creating
Sure.
stability. And
Yeah.
a lot of companies, 343 Studios, Bungie, Frontier, has just thrown those words out there like they're nothing, like they mean nothing. Like for example, the Elite Dangerous put out their Odyssey at the alpha of Odyssey. I was like, the game was released, was content quote unquote, or there was early release was there, but it was completely unstable. I was like, the game's gonna release in a month, or
No,
this
it's not.
DLC is gonna be released in a month. This is not a beta. This is not like if it's not content complete, it's not a beta. And this is I
Yeah.
felt like it was false marketing, but
Mhm.
but I think CIG is using those terms correctly. I think they're using very accurately. I think this is an alpha. I think the technology will be there, and I think instead of 5.0, we're going to have beta 1.0. And
Mhm.
I don't know how long we'll be in beta. We're a long ways away from that to being able to know how long we're in beta.
Mhm.
One thing I am encouraged with is they are focusing on stability now to some
Yes.
degree, not a large degree, not a large degree at all, to some degree, so that when they get to the point of actually the entire branch is about stability and bug fixing, a lot of it will already be done. The game might be very, very complex, where there's going to be way more bugs than normal. So this might be more of a normal long-term beta system, but I don't see a 5.0 alpha.
Okay. Um, my second my second job is I do run a game studio, and
Nice.
I don't. Here's where you're gonna hear a different opinion on that alpha thing. Like I said before, we're in a sandbox. We're not in Star Citizen. We're. I would not personally consider Star Citizen even an alpha state right now. They can call it an alpha state. That's fine. They've already defined what they're doing with it. I'm
Mhm.
not upset with that. I would define this if I was running the if I was running the show. This would be a pre alpha because you're still building the functionality of what the game is supposed to be. That's how I define pre alphas. Alphas are functions at a base level complete and reiteration of them. That's how I feel about that. And then beta would be exactly what you described. Fleshing out problems, bugs, balancing, uh, polishing up as much as you can. um, but by no means am I taking away from also what you said. I just wanted to give a different perspective from
Oh,
somebody who
you're
does
fine.
it. It can be both ways in this scenario. I do think so. I hope you guys are right. I hope there is no Alpha 5.0. I hope I really hope we go from Alpha 4.5 after modularity is released and go into Beta 1. I really, really hope that. Not on wood, right? That's
Yeah,
not wood.
exactly.
Yeah. So I would just say, my biggest piece of advice to our audience right now is like if you play Star Citizen, you run into problems, report those bugs. it may not look like they get looked at, but the more you report things, the more they get a handle on what's going on, the more they see where it's breaking in the code. Like, I remember there was one weird bug where if you took your helmet off in an underground bunker, it would crash your game because how you make the helmet is it's a room with its own atmosphere. And how the world is well, the bunker is its own room with its own atmosphere. So what happened is you got a forever loop occurred. Basically, they took off the helmet and it was trying to say, okay, which one of you atmospheres is which one of you rooms is supposed to be the master room right now, and it would just loop and crash the game eventually. So yeah, it's very important to understand that these problems happen. We need, as pledgers, we need to do due diligence and report these problems. Don't hesitate. Just do it.
The best way to document something
Report
is well, definitely report it. But
Clearly,
even-
ignore it is the best
Report
way.
Yeah.
Ignore it and then bitch.
Reddit.
Well,
No, it's Spectrum at this point, not Reddit.
well, the best way to do it, record it
Yeah, that's what it said.
so they can see it. And that way there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's a documented thing. I have a video of it. Here it is. That's it.
Yeah. It's not our job as players to determine the priority of it. It's our job as pledgers to report it.
Exactly.
Don't be discouraged if they don't get to your problem or your bug immediately.
Yeah.
Because again, we're not to that point where they're fixing all bugs, and if the bug you come across is documented and you found it, even if you're the first person to find it, they may look at it and say, look, this bug is bad, but it's not a high enough priority to fix. We have to fix maybe other bugs first, finishing developing this feature or this modularity first.
Mhm.
They may wait to get to your bug until beta 1.0. And if they
Yeah. I was
They-
gonna
they may wait till that point to get to your bug, and even if that's like worst case scenario, if they wait to beta to get to your bug, them having the documentation of your bug and everyone else who reports it and all the documentation that they'll have from everyone else to record it, that will help them fix that bug faster when they do get to it.
Mm-hmm.
Like Payne is completely right. The documentation of those bugs, as much as you can do it, as much as you feel like you are willing to, will help the game eventually, even if it feels like they're ignoring you now.
And
hell, go ahead, Joe.
there was the one thing that kind of sucks about that system that they have, but I completely understand why they have it. Is the whole upvoting system when you report a problem. So there'd be one person that might get 2 upvotes on something where it's like essentially those 2 people experience the same thing. And then you got next to a problem that has had, 50 to 100 upvotes. They're going to work on that, and then they're going to leave that other one alone and assume that one's like maybe user error or just your system or internet or whatever the hell, maybe that's just them. That's not everybody else. So that part of it kind of sucks, is that I'm sure some little small percentage of those people, that don't get their stuff upvoted, doesn't really get worked on because, whatever. But yeah.
Well, I'm sure the documentation is still being kept, though. I'm sure they're not.
No, it is. It will be there. Yeah. The documentation's there. So if in the future, they could go back and do it. But I know they prioritize the more upvotes you have kind of thing.
And I think it's also reasonable to expect that a lot of the underlying tech that comes into play will probably fix quite a bit of things too. That it'll just gone and you won't know and you'll never experience it again. Like, oh, well, they actually did QA on this. Like, for example, one of the reason why I don't do investigation missions, especially on Hurston, is for the simple fact that when I go to grab or when I investigate somebody, it accidentally grabs their suit and yanks it off of them. And now I have no head, no arms, and my armor is sitting on my feet, and I can't walk around very well. I have to log and come back on. So, maybe that's fixed by Pez, or maybe that's fixed by the Gen 12 renderer, or maybe that's fixed by, what I'm saying? Like there could be any number of reasons why that gets fixed alone. But it's important, again, report your bugs when you can. Sometimes you have every right to be upset and angry that the problem happened. You paid money, play a product. You're okay to be, well, gosh darn it, I don't want this to happen to me. But it's okay. You have a right to feel something. So I think that's important to remember, especially about 3.18 coming out, with potential problems. I don't have anything else for 3.18. I was going to move on to an interesting topic about asset validation. If anybody else has anything to say or wants to talk about a different topic, we can. So anybody object? Okay.
All good, man.
All right. Let's hit this next one. So asset validation. It's kind of an overlooked scenario. It was kind of a recent ISC, I believe. I think last week or the week before ISC, the North Star. Yeah. It was North Star. So asset validation is a term not just used in Star Citizen, but if you are in IT alone, or even military can back this up too, to validate the object or thing that you have to put into the game or into whatever it is it's going into, ensures that exists and functions the way it's supposed to when it goes there. So that's why it's important. So I'm curious, Joe, you were in the military. When have you ever encountered, like, it with what you can say, if you were not
No, I wasn't that important. I didn't do anything cool like that, so I can divulge in the things I've done.
So when did you experience in the military asset validation?
Well, I was an electrician, so I was down in the engine rooms a lot, with these big ass generators, the size of houses, and fixing them. And yeah, there's the whole QA thing where people would have to come down and check to make sure that you're doing your job correctly, and that when things get fixed, they're getting fixed correctly. I really don't have any sort of, like, in particular memory that's coming to mind, but yeah, you have there's a certain way. I mean, it's not just in the military; it's everywhere. There's a certain way. There's a certain standard you're held at when you're doing your work, and yeah, and I don't know. In the military, it was super easy to kind of just get around all of that and kind of just do whatever you want behind, when no one's looking. They call it gun decking. When you go and you say that you've done something and you haven't really done it, it's called gun decking in the military. And you can
Navy.
Yeah, in the Navy, yes. But yeah, you can definitely get in trouble. You can get kicked out, depending on what you've done. And it's an everyday situation that you got to deal with. And yeah, I don't know what else to say about that. Honestly, it's
good.
It's very important, but it's definitely something that it can't be skimped down on at all, because there's so I including me, where I've done where I haven't supposed to, what I was not supposed to be doing, not wearing electrical safety gloves rated at a specific thing, or maybe not putting down my little rubber mat, if I'm working on like anything 440 or above or something like that. Working on switchboards and stuff, where I got shocked because I wasn't doing what I was supposed to do. In that case, it's a life-threatening situation, so
yeah, it's a whole different
completely
ballpark,
different. But I mean, with video games, you could you can break the game completely. If you, like, I was telling Shadow that the whole thing with Callisto Protocol, when they released the game, the CEO came out and said the reason why there was like really bad stuttering, because they they fixed the wrong patch and put that out instead. And so because it was like a clerical, he said it was a goddamn clerical error. That was like his quote in quotes. That's what he said.
Wow.
So
Wow.
so somebody for whatever reason got rushed, and that happened. And then all the negative feedback came back on that developer when if someone just went in and checked it, and not been rushed and actually checked it and looked at it, they probably would have caught that and they wouldn't have gotten all the negative feedback for performance issues and stuff, at least on the PC side. So, I mean, it's same thing with CIG. I don't know how they do things. But yeah, I just thought it was interesting.
Yeah, one would argue haphazardly for CIG, but the video talked about how their tools weren't. They went bloated. Basically, this is what happens with software. There we go. Is a new word. Software development, where it gets bloated, and then you have to trim the fat back and reorganize how you deal with things. And so I want Shadow to put his 2 cents in before I do, because Shadow's been patiently waiting. So,
with the asset validation.
Yeah.
When I saw that ISC, and it gave me more of a perspective of what they have to deal with. Because, hey, I haven't been in IT for a long time. So when I saw that, and I was like, wow, this can break a build, And then when they were talking about how they had to redefine the tool that goes through the build and make sure it's stable, it makes sense, because they even stated that nobody was taking care of it. They weren't putting in any time into it, because they were just using it and using it and using it. And then the thing just exploded.
When they said that was going on, I was like, oh, I was like, how dare you?
Right.
I couldn't believe they admitted it on camera. I was like, wow, really? Wow.
I couldn't believe it either, but I am that level of honesty.
Yeah.
Is encouraging to me.
And the fact that they're like, well, we're fixing it. We're going to make sure that doesn't happen, or whatever they said. I didn't watch the whole thing, so yeah.
But that's very revealing of what they do every day. They build stuff every day. Mm-hmm. How many builds do they make?
Probably hundreds.
Yeah. And this tool is one thing that validates the build. And if it's screwed, then that's why the build fails. So it makes it that was revealing, and I was glad that they came out with it, to be totally honest.
Yeah.
That's all I got on that, man.
Yeah. So I kind of got two things on this, as far as real life and then game development. So in real life, one of my old jobs was desktop support engineer.
Be right back. I got to get something to drink.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Basically,
I hope he's got pants on.
Yeah, we could also pause here until. Oh, he's got a Batman. He's got a
Fire's summary on it. I watched like a little bit of the live stream, and then I just went back and watched Nubifire's assessment on it, and then that was it. I was like, okay, I'm good. I saw everything I needed to see, but
I kind of like Salty Mike 2's, like where he does the Salty Mike 2 is like those very chopped up small things. I like that over long form any day of the week. I'm with you.
Uh-oh, we're talking about the salt, man.
Oh, no, we were waiting on you to get back. So at desktop support, asset validation for us was basically taking inventory and verifying that what I had on record matched what was on the shelf. So I look, serial number, check. Serial number, check. And I would make a note exactly where it is and what it's doing. And I would also make a note, does it work? Does it turn on? So, asset validation in and of itself is it goes across a bunch of things. And so the funny story about my game development. This is where I wasn't checking myself before I wrecked myself. This is where asset validation comes into play. We were building out a main menu structure for the game, and there's a couple of classes. Just to keep it simple, you have your game instance, which is your computer loading the program, like loads the universe of the program. You have your game mode, which is basically the rules of how the game functions at that specific point. Like, say for example, your main menu, right? That's a main menu mode, if you will. The rule is I click start game, the game starts, right? And then you have player classes and stuff like that. That's neither here nor there. But anyway, I looped something very stupidly. I looped the loading of the main menu into the loading of the instance, which then called back to the main menu, which then called back to the. You see what the point is? As I created what's called a forever for loop.
You divided by 0.
I divided by 0. So what do you think happens when I loaded that game up? Here's your game. All right, bye. That's basically what happened. So we got that fixed. So the reason I say that is asset validation is important. Did you verify where this goes? Did you verify that where this goes doesn't call back to this? So that's where I should have checked myself. As we say in IT, check yourself before you wreck yourself. That's how I should have done that. Should have checked it. That was a weird noise. And so basically what they're doing with this tool, I'll get your opinion here, Zuke, here in a second. What they're doing with this tool is they're basically forcing you to verify things before you build the game. So, yeah, and Zuke, I wanted to hear your opinion on this, bud.
I like to bring it back to a little bit more of a high level.
Sure.
To put this tool into context. This company was a company that just isn't just creating a game from scratch. They're creating a game engine from scratch. They're creating a studio from scratch. They're creating the tools from scratch, and every bit from the ground up, they're building it from scratch. You could debate whether or not that's good or not, but the fact that they're also working on these tools is very encouraging. The fact that they feel like they're ready to use these tools in production on a larger scale is very encouraging. And if the rate at which they've been putting out patches to the Avocati, 3, 4, or 5 times of patches per day, that tells me, and again, not only these patches, every one of them playable, every one of them workable, every one of them doesn't introduce some major break that causes the patch to go down in an hour, that tells me that tool is working. I don't know what that'll mean as far as like the game being released 2 years sooner. It may or may not. But the fact of the matter is, the fact that they have that tool and it can be scaled up. Like if you watch the video, they're saying that the tool developer doesn't have to be part of creating that tool for the artist, for the 3D designers, for each department. Each department can basically use that foundation to make their own check.
Mm-hmm.
And that tells me that tool was built from the ground up to be scalable, to be modular. And I hate that the developers got their modularity before we did, but they got it, and that's encouraging. I love the content. I love the fact that they showed it. There's nothing to complain about, me personally, other than I want my modularity.
Okay.
Well, yeah. So it's very important to have this stuff because this brings up the next most important thing to the backers is why is this important to the backers? And if you think about kind of the examples we gave outside of the game world, why is it important? In Joe's scenario, the asset validation, like you make sure he's got everything he's got on. It was if he didn't break the rules and wasn't the naughty boy, he probably would have never got shocked at that one point, right? In my example of checking the computers and stuff like that, if I didn't check that, then the hospital that I worked for at the time would probably be missing $500 worth of computer parts. and we would never know, you know. So things like that. So for the context of game development, asset validation means that you're making sure that what you're putting in is inventoried. Basically, the work you've done is inventoried, and does it meet standard before it won't conflict with something else. So translating that information, that nugget, into what players will experience. That means that breaking of the builds will be a lot less prevalent. Meaning evocadis will probably last shorter periods of time. Meaning that wave 1s will be shorter. Wave 2s will be shorter. On average.
Can I interject something in there?
Absolutely. Go ahead, bud.
So I really want to point out, to jump on your point you're making, Payne,
Yeah.
is if my theory is correct, and basically 3.0 is backend tech, and 4.0 is content being pushed out, that means that capital ship, that large ship, that Galaxy, the Kraken, the Javelin, whatever thing you're looking for is created that will take a year to create. Each time they create a coffee cup for that capital ship, that asset validation runs in the background during development while the person's creating that coffee cup, and it assures that that coffee cup won't be the reason why that javelin gets delayed.
Yeah.
Right? Every little bit that goes into these large
Mhm.
ships in a game where we have as much detail as we're looking to have, that they're looking to make, and that we want and are willing to spend this money for, goes smoother, quicker, and easier for everybody involved. And
Yeah.
that's the bottom line. That's why I can't complain about it. I've heard people complain on Spectrum about, why are you making this tool and not making my games? Like, no. When it comes down to it and the backend tech is done and 4.0 is here, this tool will be incredibly invaluable for 4.0 development. Like,
Mhm.
Agreed.
this tool is not that critical for 3.0's branches. It would be useful, but it's not that critical. When they're making assets in the 4.0 and the new game loops and the exploration, and that's when it becomes really, really, really key. And maybe I'm misunderstanding it, Payne, but that's my understanding.
I think you're pretty good. Joe, I thought you were about to say something. I'm sorry.
I wasn't, but I do kind of have a thought. It's
Go ahead.
oh shit, it just escaped me there for a second.
Soft flash.
If you fuck, what was I gonna say?
If can I get a? Are you ordering McDonald's, Joe?
No, go ahead. We'll skip me. Maybe
I'll
it'll
give
come
you a
back.
minute to think about it. Shadow, go ahead and speak your mind, bud. Let's let Joe formulate his thought.
I at this point, you know, with me, the validation, the stability of the build, if they can get the PTU to go faster, that means we have a live service, PU quicker. Um, Personally, I wish we could have got into 318 PTU earlier this year, or we wouldn't be waiting this long now. But there was something that was going on, and they did not reveal. They were having problems, and this is where the transparency comes in. Say if we're having problems, and then people won't be so salty. You know, that's all. That's it.
I agree.
Mm.
Just be honest. You're giving us all this transparency, but certain things you don't want to say. You don't want to look in a bad light. That's, dude, I'd rather them say, "Hey, we're having an issue and we're going to delay this because of this issue." You know? I'd rather have that than nothing at all.
I
They're
agree.
definitely they're definitely hit and miss on it in my
Well,
time.
I think I mentioned this to you the other night, Spectre. Uh, my issue with their communication is they wait and wait and wait to bring something up. They
Yes.
really should not wait, first of all, but more importantly, they should trust their backers, their fans to say, "Oh, if you're having a problem, okay, great." No, they said they were having a problem with the Evocati build for 318, and they were going to push it back and push it back. They didn't say when, and we're not looking for a date when. But the fact that they told us they were just pushing it back was fine. We're okay with that. I'm not. Most fans of this game who actively play this game and actively follow their game and watch their videos, we're not looking for a date. What really bothered me was when they said, 318 was supposed to be second quarter,
Yeah.
and then second quarter came and went, right? And they didn't say they were delaying it,
Yeah.
Right.
right?
Yeah.
That was a punch in the gut. That was a slap in the face to every one of the fans. Like, I don't care if there's a delay.
Mhm.
It would have been really nice if they sort of said a week or two prior to the end of the second quarter, "Hey guys, there's going to be a delay. We don't know when yet. We're going to have to delay it." Because now we're sitting on like any day now, 318 any day now, any day now, and it's that
Mhm.
that's the expectation and failure to deliver that process creates, and that hurts more than anything. Like, we're not looking
Yeah.
for a day. We're looking for when there's delays, let us know before the delay point happens.
Yeah. That's the thing. And this is where a lot of the other content creators say they're so worried about the bad press. They need to get past that. They need to get past that. You know, be honest, be open and honest. You're showing us all this stuff, transparency. Be honest and say, "Hey, we've got an issue. We're going to delay it. We're not going to give you a date, but we've got issues and we have to delay what we plan to do." That's all you got to say.
If this was any other game developer, they could get away with not being transparent because no one's playing the game yet. But we've been playing the game for years, and we know to expect certain things. We know what we could expect and what might happen. And, most of us already know how the game goes. We know that patches get delayed, and that's fine as long as you fix them. And but yeah, Star Citizen's different. You have to be transparent about simple things, because I understand that it's not as simple as we'll just go out and say something. I know that there are internal struggles. I'm sure there are times where they think a patch can come out that day, and then something kind of out of the blue happens, or maybe it's been iffy for a week or so, and they don't know what they should say, whether they should announce that's being delayed or not. But just for the simple fact there's a big question mark on whether it's going to go well or not. I understand stuff like that can happen, but still, there's got to be a point where you got to kind of just call it and be like, if it's not looking good, then maybe at least say, hey, there's still a question, at least bare minimum. We don't know if it's going to come out on this date, or by this month.
Right.
Just say it's iffy or something.
And you know how? So I wanted to compare the experience between not saying there's a delay and there becomes a delay, and now we're 2 weeks after when it should have been out, and then they're saying, by the way, we're delaying it, and everyone in the entire community is saying, no, duh, right? And compare that experience to if they came out 3 weeks early and said, hey, we're delaying it, and then whatever their roadblock is magically gets fixed. Some developer finds an epiphany moment and just fixes it, and they can come out on time.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, guys, it's coming out tomorrow. Congratulations, we did it. And the
Yeah.
entire community would be celebrating that.
Mhm.
Yes, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Like the difference between those two experiences is night and day, and like there's no negative, at least that I can think of, other than maybe marketing, and maybe this is one thing that the marketing has more control over the company than maybe we give it credit for. They're sitting there saying, if you say there's a delay, no one's going to buy the ship we're releasing in a week or two,
Hmm.
right? That might be happening on the back end, and if that's the case, I hope who's making that call is fired because that's incredibly damaging to the community itself. Like, yes, you might be able to sell more ships to newer players, but you're ruining your faith in the community and the people who are giving you money who might be willing to give you more.
Yeah.
True. True.
All right. Yeah, we've been at this a while, and this has been a great conversation.
Yeah.
So I
Hour
want to
and
do
40
a
minutes.
yeah. Let's head up with final thoughts. I'll let since Zuke's our guest of honor, I'm gonna let him go first, and then Shadow, Joe, and then me. Okay.
Cool.
Zuke, what's your final thoughts?
I don't really have any at the moment. Can you come back to me?
Yeah, absolutely. Shadow, go ahead, buddy.
Final thoughts. The main thing that I'm looking for is wave 1, so we can get in there, see what's going on, test things out, because come 318 live, I'm getting a reclaimer. That sucker's going to be in space. There's going to have shifts, a day shift to go when there's stuff going on. Somebody's going to be out there in that reclaimer, and I'm going to be the first one on it, and I'm going to make sure that my crew is taken care of, and we are going to do the job. And if my ships get attacked, okay, my ships get attacked, and we come out and we win, oh, my ships are going to be claimed by me, my crew, and we're going to bring that stuff back and we're going to sell it. That's all there is to it. I'm not leaving nothing behind.
They did confirm you can do that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So, hey, I'm just letting everybody know I'm not leaving nothing behind.
Hands off my C2, sir. Hands off my C2.
I've got a C2. You're not.
Nice.
We're gonna have
Shadow just wants a composite.
me and you, Shadow. We're gonna have a reclaimer salvage battle.
Okay.
Ramming
But-
speed.
But I mean, hey, all I'm waiting for right now is wave 1, so I can get in there, test it out, see what's going on, and go from there. Because Luminalia is hitting early this year. If you think about it, when did it hit last year? Does anybody remember?
I don't remember. I thought it already started by now.
No, it's.
I
like
mean, like
mid-
last year. But
Oh, last year.
I thought last year it already started, but around this time.
You know what? We can use our best friend Google to figure this out.
I think it was. I think Joe's had a point. And while he's searching that up right now, I do want to bring up a thought that I had.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine Jumptown and inside of 3.18, where every time a ship gets blown up, some of the cargo survives, and the ship wreckage remains.
Mm-hmm.
How pain in the butt will it be to load up cargo when all around Jumptown there's dead Connies and dead Mercury Star Runners
Blocking
and
the
dead
entrances and
100s,
exits.
blocking the entrances, blocking the exits. I guarantee you, and I'm almost positive that there's going to be somebody out there in some combat org, that's going to say, we need freaking Imperial Logistics to come down here, guarded by Spectre, and say, look, we won't fuck with you. Sorry. We won't mess with you. Can you come down here and clean up this wreckage? At least the front of it, because we can't load up our gear. I mean, that's not a future thing. That's a logical outcome of what's going to happen with the content they're putting out in 318.
You're gonna need
Mhm.
Jumptown halftime. All right, everybody, take a break.
Yeah, time out, guys. Yeah.
Cleanup crew, come on, let's go. Come on in. No, that'll be very interesting to see. I think it'll be very fun, even if it wasn't intended to be like that. Yeah, you can just take a reclaimer, put it kind of towards the entrance, blow it up, and then they can't get out or whatever. You know how? I don't know. I'm sure there'll be many different ways people are gonna find how to use this the way it's not supposed to be used, and I think it's gonna be fun. And then imagine if the SRV was out right now. You'd be able to use the tractor beam, grab the hulls and move them around and use them as like blockades or something, you know, or I don't know. But I'm sure this first iteration of PES probably will stop that from happening. I think a lot of it would start to despawn, you know, so, but because there's going to be priorities. I'm sure not every single ship carcass is going to be able to stay at first.
Well,
or stay for a certain amount of time if it's not touched.
That's what I'm. Yeah.
What? Go ahead. Go ahead, Mike.
I was gonna say the answer to the Luminalia was last year was December 11th, so it might start on Saturday this year.
Oh, okay.
December 10th.
Cool.
That brings it
Okay.
out to be the
Okay.
10th.
Yeah.
Okay.
Something like
that. Well, the only reason I said that it seemed early this year is because if 318 comes after Luminalia starts, that's going to be interesting.
There's no reason
Why
to
is that?
collect the gifts, the Luminalia gifts.
Yeah.
There's no reason to.
We're going to get
do it.
wiped. We're going to get wiped.
I mean, is that the main thing for? I mean, it's nice,
Well-
but that's not the main thing.
Not the main thing, but it was the last couple years until they nerfed how much the packages were worth. Like everybody was out there just spamming the hell out of them, just grabbing as many as they can, making millions.
Don't remind me.
Dude, I got hurt so bad on that. I was collecting them and I was just storing them up in the local inventory, and oh, by the way, we're nerfing the price now.
Oh yeah, I was butthurt because I was in the middle of doing all that. So I was like,
I
had like 3 backpacks worth of all that stuff, and when they said it, and then I tried to sell it, and then I kind of cried. So
yeah, you thought you were making $5 million. No, you made $30K.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm of that too. It was the only time I ever tried it. Day one, I made I made like 800K for like 30 minutes.
It
of work
was
or whatever
fun.
It was. Yeah,
It was fun.
and then the next day, I was like, how come I only made like 30K? Like, what the hell's going on? Like, oh yeah, we nerfed it. I'm like, man, I don't want to do this anymore.
Nope. And nobody did. So who's gonna even do it this year? But for the people that do it and do it hard, pretty hardcore, which there is gonna be some people, they're not gonna get to keep their money, and that's not the kind of event that they're gonna, come back and be like, well, if you did this event, then we give you some of that money back.
They might do that. They may actually extend it on into 318 for like a couple of weeks at least to give people an opportunity to, get money back out of it. But just remember, it's a Christmassy time thing. Even last year, there was a money wipe that occurred shortly after.
I mean, no,
No, there wasn't one.
no, there wasn't one.
No.
There wasn't one. It was
It was 315 came out first, and that was the wipe, and then there wasn't another wipe until 317 won.
Oh yeah, one. Yeah, that's right.
Look, the last couple of years have had a weird timeline to it. Okay, well, we'll just say that. I may be thinking
alternate reality, right?
Yeah. I might be thinking of something else because I know something got wiped between December and June. Was it Rep?
Probably.
Maybe it was Rep.
But 315 came.
No.
And that's when I entered the game, and a lot of people lost everything because they had to start all over again.
Now you might have been.
I know what I was thinking about. I was thinking about 7 Days to Die. Sorry. Whole other game.
there was a 315. There was a wipe for 315 a few months prior to
Okay, that could be it too.
prior to it. And
Yeah,
then
that
there's a
could be.
wipe for either 17.0 or 17.1, and that was
Yes.
where they had the money Canon,
Put on-
fiasco.
Yeah, I remember that clearly. You might be right, but it was probably from 15 that I'm misremembering.
Mhm.
I'm only human. I can only remember so much. Zook, you were at your final thoughts. Did you want to wrap up your final thoughts, or was there anything else you wanted to say?
I just want to do a shout out to some of my org mates,
Yeah.
Ren, Box Swapper, and Titan. See y'all online in a little bit.
The gamers and their tags, man. I'll tell you what. I hope you guys have a great time. I hope that Ren, Box Swapper, and Titan, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
I hope you guys have a great night. I hope you guys have fun. I really do. As far as my final thoughts are, I just want everybody to remember that it's just a game, and just have fun. Meet people, go play with some people. Yeah, you're gonna get pirated sometimes. Sometimes your ship's gonna hit a planet and you didn't think it was there to begin with, and then you're gonna get mad because you lost your Twizzlers.
He's not talking about you, Box Swapper.
Hey, and if the game gets to you into a point to where you're just angry all the time, take a break. Go play something else.
Mhm.
Go enjoy something else, because there's more to life to Star Citizen, and there's more to life than just video games.
Maybe like a 4-year break. Come back.
Yeah, maybe before your break, come back. You never know. It's just a game. Oh,
I'm
And-
literally teaching my 4-year-old to do that right now.
it's just a game. That meme. So yeah, I appreciate everybody who watches this video, and I appreciate Zook for joining us. I appreciate Joe and Spectre for being my cohorts in here and causing trouble with me. And to the viewer, I'll see you next time. Everybody say bye.
Later.
Bye.
Bye.